I have a family, 2 sons who live here, but I also recently married. So my wife, Barbara, and I have a daughter, Zoe, who's a ball of fire and really fun to be around. So we do various things together, as you can imagine. I take Zoe to piano lessons, I take her to choir at Trinity Church, things like that. But you know, I'm a retired professor at the university, but that does not mean that I've stopped doing any kind of scholarly work. So another thing I do kind of routinely is review journal articles, review book manuscripts. I occasionally write pieces that get published. That hasn't stopped. So I'm who I am. Oh, there's a nice broad question. I like that a lot. Significant events. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, or as we say down there, Louisville. It was a segregated state when I was a small child, and that had a big influence on me. I went through the civil rights movement in Kentucky. In my hometown, I saw the way various black people were treated. I thought it was completely unjust as a child. I still think it's unjust. So that had a big influence on me. I went to Notre Dame in the mid-1960s, and when I graduated from Notre Dame, the month I graduated was the peak month for drafting young men into the military. So I got a draft notice, and 3 days before I was supposed to literally be drafted, I enlisted in the U.S. Army. So being in the Army for almost 3 years was a huge effect, had a huge effect on me. I lived for 2 years in central Germany in a tank battalion. That had a huge effect on me. As you can imagine, I was able to see a lot of Europe that I would not have otherwise been able to do. But as a history major at the University of Notre Dame, I studied European history, so for me it was a really fascinating experience to be able to see what I had read about a lot when I was younger as a student. And other things, let me think now, let me think. I've moved a lot, so moving around has had a big effect on me. I moved from Louisville, went off to school at Notre Dame. I was over in Europe, and then I came back, lived in Louisville for another 5 years. Moved to Kansas City, moved to Los Angeles, moved to Chicago, and then moved here about 25 years ago. So those moves and the opportunity I had to experience those other cities has had a big effect on me. And then all the other things, the big global kinds of events that clearly have had a huge effect on me as well as other people. Well, you know, I first ran for election in 1993. And at that time, I had no idea whatsoever that I would get elected. I didn't think that was even on the horizon. All I wanted to do was draw attention to certain key themes, sustainability being a major part of that I wanted to draw attention to. And I did that as effectively as I could. And much to my surprise, I got elected. But now, a considerable amount of time has passed, and I've had the opportunity to visit many other cities in Europe, Australia, and throughout the United States, and see how they do things and try to compare what I see there with what I see in Iowa City. And now what I'm trying to do is draw attention to the 3 key themes that I accentuated when I was a candidate for office in the November election. The first is to make sure that we have good jobs and a strong tax base for the city. The second is that we make sure that this is a safe and welcoming place for all. And the third is that we pay attention to long-term prosperity and sustainability. So I think about those 3 things all the time as a council member, and I think as a practical matter of my day-to-day life, I think about them all the time. I think about my children, and I think about their children, and I think about their children beyond that. I don't think about just what's happening tomorrow. Well, what I love most are my friends, the people that I've gotten to know over the last 25 or so years of living here. You know, one of the features of Iowa City is that people you get to know come and go. That has to do with the university. So lots of people I've really cared for have moved out of town, but that's the way it is. There are also all these other people that I've gotten to know over the years who are still here, and they matter a lot to me. And one of the things I've learned about because I'm an urban planner, you know, because I've taught this stuff for years, is that the built form of the city has a huge effect on the kind of interactions that are possible. So the built form of Iowa City really makes it easy to bump into friends, acquaintances, and so on a daily basis, just because of the fact that you're able to walk to town, or you're able to ride your bike to town or something like that, and to move around while in the core of the city. So that matters a lot to me, and it's something I really love about this city. So the two things I'm drawing attention to, you know, are friends that I've gotten to know for years, and the built form of the city that really enables that kind of interaction among friends. Well, 5 years is really not a very long time, so I don't expect the city to change very much between now and 2017. Just look back to 2007 or 2002 before that and ask yourself, how different were things in 2007? How different were they in 2002? They aren't dramatically different, but there are, you know, these subtle changes that add up. The word I use is incremental, so that the place changes incrementally over time. So a really crucial thing for me is to pay attention to the direction of that incremental change. So I'm trying to make sure that we bring more good and less bad into the town, so that the overall direction of that incremental change is really very positive. One of the things we're going to see are, you know, a few key notable if you will, insertions into the town that will have a significant effect on the look and feel of the place. Some people won't like that, others will, but I think of it as all a matter of change that is inherent in the fact that we live in a dynamic city. So I just want to make sure the overall trend, the overall direction of that incremental change is in a good, positive direction.